right, so now we will, from the data entered, make a list of students entered, and then implement our pretty basic search. So every time now we put in a student and an ID number, it'll be added to a list, and we'll use a list instead of an array. So we'll go back to this. This has already been used, but we can go back to it by control clicking on it. Same thing, events you did before once, actions, mouse, and mouse released. All right, so this will take us back to where a couple of videos ago we did the system.out.println. We don't really need that anymore. So what we need is a list. So we should make our list global. So we'll go up to the top here, right after there, and we're going to make it should be private, and it's an array list or linked list. What do we want to do? Linked list, I think, is what you're more used to. So we'll do a linked list of students, and we'll call it students. Just a second here. Remember how that looks? Be careful, just pause maybe the video here and take a look at this. And with Netbeans, I like the light bulb to do the import. You get used to that. Light bulb, add import. There are other ways to do it as well, but that's the easiest. So students, we now have a list called students. So go back to where we were. Here it is. And every time they press the OK, we understand what's going on here. Every time they type in a new student name, a new student number, and they press the OK, it's going to be added to the list. So the list of students, we're going to add, there it is, adding a student. Which student? Well, we're going to make a new one. Let's do this in 2 lines. So just leave that for now. And let's make a new student. Student, I'm going to do S, that's fine for here. Student S is assigned new student. And it's going to be what we get from that, which we tested before. And then the ID comes from, if I can remember the name of it, ID number, I think, TF. If it turns green, yes. Get text. It's a number, but we're not getting it as a number. We're getting it just as text. So this is fine. Get text. So S is what we're adding. S is a student. Oh, yeah, let's call it student. Student. Get a squiggly there. Not sure what it is. Get text. Oh, so we do need to convert it to an int. Okay, fair enough. Why didn't I just make that? Well, okay. Well, yeah. All right, so we've got to convert it to an int. So integer.parseInt. I know that's a little bit tricky to get this line correct now, but just pause the video, take a look. You're taking in the text and you're parsing it as an int. The thing is, a student number, you don't need to treat it as a number. It's just a label, but not a bad thing probably in this video to be working with integer parse int once again, so fair enough. All right, so we can keep on adding. And the other thing is, I'm just going to do this rather than show you the problem. We want these fields to clear each time we go OK. Otherwise, we'll have to clear them ourselves. We won't know that the OK has worked. So let me just do that now. Well, nah, I'll show you. So run. The thing is, when we type in blah, 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 and this will have to be an int now, by the way. So when I go OK, I'm not going to know that anything's worked because I'm not going to see anything change, right? So I'd like to see these two text fields clear when I click OK. So let me do that right now. So each of those two text fields, we're just going to set the text this time, set text. You'll get used to the different common methods like this one, just to be nothing. Okay. No, it's not student, it's ID number. Also to be nothing. And I'll run this, you'll see. I'm not saving very frequently, probably should be more. So now, when we go OK, those two fields will clear, which is a good indication that the OK button worked, and it sets us up for the next time for inputting. And we just keep on adding to the list. So I think in this video we can go over to sort and search and put in a student name and get an equivalent or the number that corresponds to that student. So this might be a good place to pause and make everything work, but I'll keep on with the same video. So sort and search. Typing in this, so we need an OK button here. We didn't put one before, so let's do it. Not a toggle button. I want a button. Slow, control, click. Yeah, right. So should name these. Don't think we did last time. Let's take a look. Now, all we have is a bunch of stuff that when we see this in the code, we're not going to know what's what, right? So let's take the time. Actually, you know what? Maybe it is often easier to do it this way. Nah, I'm going to be consistent. So control click. If I can get the control click on this. Variable name is, let's call it, how about name for search? Name for search. I want to make it slightly different than the other variable name that we had. Name for search. This is the variable name. Okay, good. And then their ID number. I guess maybe I did go down here to change, but one way or another, you right click, control click over here, or you can go down here if you're sure. The problem with this is, are you sure that's the one? Okay, click off it, click on it again. Yeah, it's highlighted. What do we want to call this? It's a label, so ID number, ID result. Okay, label. Okay, and I just recognized something that I wasn't consistent with my naming here. I didn't put a TF, so I'm going to go over here, change the variable name a bit more to include the TF. All right, and then the button, I'll go here. So Variable name, this is going to be ID search. Student ID search. But I'm just going to say ID search. ID, we're not searching. I don't think this is the best variable name, but I'm not going to hum and haw anymore. ID search button. So things are labeled fine. The three things that will be worked within the actual code. So to the OK button we go. Control click. Events. Mouse. Released. It's a sequential search. We don't need to copy and paste that. We just do it. So what do we want to do? We want to say for less than the length of the students list. Wouldn't have minded calling it students. Oh, you see that got opened up. I wouldn't have minded changing the list to be called students list, so I'm going to change it. Students list. Okay, so please make that change. I think it's more appropriate to know that it's a list, to remember that it's a list. And then there's one place we need to change down here. And now students list, less than student list, students list dot size. You may or may not know that. So we're going to look through this, and if student list dot students list with an S dot, you need to get it, and then when we get the student, we need to get the name. This is where you need more, but just follow this for now and see how it makes sense. So if a certain student name dot equals this name for search TF dot get text, and we found it. And it's going to be the other thing, the ID number, ID result label. Got it? Dot set text to be students list get I get ID. Okay, gotta get the object first. That's the part that you might not be comfortable with. And then get the ID number. And that is it. Give me an error, but set text. Okay, what's happening here, and this is a good thing to happen once early on too, is it's returning an int, but we're trying to set text. We set text to string. So we just need to convert the int to a string, and the easiest way to do that is just to add an empty string, like that. and that casts the int into a string, which is what is the argument required for set text. So, making this sound just like a walk in the park, but with what I've done to this point, you can build an entire GUI database IA. So let's just make sure that it works. So we'll do a few students. We'll do Bob. We'll do them in order. Okay, Bob's 1. I'm going to do them alphabetically, see if I can remember. I'm going to do Larry is 2. So we're going to look up Larry, okay? And then we're going to add Sue is 3. And frankly, that's enough to prove that this is going to work. So we're going to go, so those 3 got added to the list. We're going to sort and search. In this case, we're going to search for Larry. That should be fine. So Larry is going to sequential search through. It's going to find that Larry is number 2. Okay. The only other thing I suppose I should do a video of is displaying data in a table. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that as well. And basically, it really does, in 5 or 6 shortish videos, give you everything you need. But you've done it before, other than just to follow along. So anyway, at least after this, just to talk through where we're at, you'll understand the sort of coding that you're going to be doing. You'll have taken a look at lots of past IAs, and so then you can start to talk to your parents, who will hopefully be your clients, about the kinds of stuff that you can, the types of data that can help them in some way. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So for now, let's do one more video of display.